Welcome to the AI Lab Unfiltered podcast. We're going to take a deep dive into all things AI. Pete,
Yes, we are.
Pete from New Wave, Drew from BizStream. Morning, Pete.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate you inviting me on today.
I'm glad you could be here.
Yeah, thank you.
We've got, well, first let's do our due diligence here. If you're looking to do a podcast like we are and you want to goof around and have a good time, the best way to do that is think tank thought leadership. They are the ones that power us. They handle everything. They handle all the engineering. They handle the cameras, the lighting. This beautiful studio it's just part of the deal.
They're washing our cars out in the parking lot right now as we speak, which is awesome. Nice little added feature. If you want to be cool, do a podcast.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do a podcast, do it with think tank thought leadership.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the way to put it. That's what we always tell people, because people ask us a lot. You know, how do you start this? How do you make it look professional? Clearly, we're not professional, but yeah, it's not us. We just had the idea. They helped us flush it out. They helped us title it, come up with graphics. I mean, it's a turnkey solution. Like, cannot highly recommend them enough. Find them online. Find them on LinkedIn. Talk to us. Hit us up. We'll give you the info. Today we got a really cool topic.
Yes, we do.
It's a very, I'm hoping it's not too far over my head.
It will be.
I'm sure it will be. We're going to talk about unleashing AI within data sets and using AI as a smart coworker. Isn't that what we all want, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Thanks for your input. We have Shannon McCormick, Senior Data Scientist at Scandinavian Tobacco Group. Welcome, Shannon.
Hey, happy to be here.
So tell me what a data scientist does first. Kind of set the table of what does that mean?
Oh man, that's a hard question to answer because I think it really varies depending on really where you work, the size of the organization, like all of that. Like for me, where I work, we're a pretty smaller, lean organization. So I'm more of that 10 years ago, it was almost like the full stack data scientist who, you do your own ETL work all the way through some Power BI reporting, analytics, just one-off analytics, deeper insights, predictive modeling, kind of the whole gamut of things. For sure, at other places that are, larger, data scientists get to be a little more focused on maybe just a certain model or certain task. I kind of do the whole thing, which I really, really enjoy.
Nice. Very nice.
So far, you've said words that we understand. So thank you.
So far.
Yeah.
We're doing good. We're doing good.
I've got some saved for later as we get going.
So when you work with data itself, which is I understandably a broad term, what exactly, what kind of data are you looking at? What kind of data are you using, gathering? What does that look like?
Yeah, so because I work in a B2C type organization, obviously most of it's transactional data, point of sale where you have this is the customer, this is what they bought. And then you kind of enhance that with additional information. Maybe we have customer demographics, that sort of information. What state are you from? And then, there's also promotional data, was this promoted at the time? There's really so much, because sometimes I'll do things for accounting and then I'm working with the ledger data to kind of do reporting for them. It really depends on what the company needs, but it all really does stem from that transactional data. And then that's just kind of shaped into, other data as well to maybe do customer profiles. Just lots of variety.
Are you looking for customer trends? What?
Yes, you are, but it's usually a little bit more targeted. So I can give you some examples of some reports and things that we do that might give you some context. So, I say at the end of the day, it's always just making things so the business can make better decisions faster.
Yeah.
Save money or make more money, is always the end goal. So some reporting things we would do, we have a shipping scorecard, right? So funny story, I always used to be upset about how high shipping costs were until I started working for an e-commerce company. And then I was now I get it. So, we report on each of our, what are the shipping services we use? How does each one work? Is it different weights? Is it different things? So you'll bring all of that information in to understand where can we do things better. Things like if we put package inserts in, does it take it 1 pound over? And now suddenly we're paying more. There's all those kinds of things that you have to look at. We also do, I do a lot of promotional reporting. So that's just really saying, these are the different coupons and stuff that we had. What are people, how much did we sell? What are people purchasing? What, products are they buying with it? Other ones, we have customer profiles. And so it's how are the different profiles shopping? Are they inclining or decreasing? There's retention. There's all of those things. That's a reporting standpoint. And then we also do like a lot of predictive modeling. And so that's more like, hey, we're doing this new marketing campaign. Like, how can we use past data to predict who's more likely to purchase, in this new campaign, so that we're not, sending a bunch of mailers to people who aren't going to engage.
So tell me more about that, because that part, to use data, number one, you're gathering the data, you're analyzing it, you're looking at that, like you said, that predictive model you're building based on your customer profiles, and you're going to use that for marketing to better market. Talk to me about that workflow. What does that look like, kind of step by step, and not, I mean, you don't have to get super detailed and give me any kind of like secrets or anything. We want to know everything.
Yeah.
But what does that look like to get to that point?
So I think it's really like an iterative process where you kind of start with you always start by looking at the data, right? So it's exploring the data and saying like what kind of relationships are in there. And that's using, all those old tools that we've always used, like correlation, even just like some chi-square statistics, depending on what type of data that you're looking at. But it's just like some of it's business knowledge. Like you have to start there too. I know we're going to send you a DM. I might say, well, when's the last time we sent you one? Is it for a specific product? Then you might say, well, what like affinity, people who buy this product also buy these. So you have that general stuff that you already know about, but then it's like looking for relationships. And then it also depends like how deep you want to go. So this is, when it comes to like predictive modeling, there's always like diminishing returns the more work that you do. I think that's true of everything. Yep. And so, you might start with like a simple logistic regression to start with maybe like 15 variables in it. Really simple things like, what's your purchase cycle? How long has it been since you last purchased? I mean, between those two, a human being can pretty much say, yes, they're probably going to purchase again soon or not. So those kinds of things. And then as you get to more advanced models, you definitely bring in more like demographic information. In the cigar space, there's excise tax is a big thing, and new states are like adding it. So you say like, what state are you from? Because are you going to have it or not? Those things always become kind of important as well. And then it's like just, a lot of test and control, because you really need that then to like train your next data, add more data, as you keep going like throughout the cycle. And then it's always the post hoc analysis, like how were my predictions? What was wrong? What should I take out, for the next time that we do this?
I just want to say, this is a tobacco company that does this.
Yeah.
Honestly, this just seems interesting to me that, I mean, this is clearly they're sizable enough to need this, but doesn't that seem like this is the coolest case you can have to do B2C?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because there might be people thinking, well, that's only Microsoft and Amazon, go to this level of analysis. And, how many people are in the company?
So if you were to do like Scandinavian Tobacco Group as a whole, like we are the largest manufacturer and distributor of handmade cigars in the world. We control, I think it's like a very large share of like the pipe tobacco space, because that's really a declining, not as many people are doing that.
Sure.
I mean, do you really? Mm-hmm. I can get you, I have a discount if you want to.
Oh, nice.
There's a guy at work that does too. He could make his own pipes too.
Yeah. So if you counted the whole company, I honestly have no idea, like tens of thousands probably. I would say for me, I work for our North America online and retail division, and I would say we're fairly lean, not counting like the warehouse, just like the, more, I would probably say 100 people, 150.
Really?
Yeah. So that's not, I mean, there's a lot of companies smaller than that, obviously, but that's not, this isn't some mega corporation.
Right. You have it's a division of Amazon or something.
Yeah. One corner of the warehouse is 150 people.
Yeah.
So really this kind of analytics could apply to any kind of company that's doing, you're doing business, there's transactions that you can analyze, and then you can then predict, which is the coolest part, is when you start to predict like, hey, where's this going? I'm glad you asked that, because that's the part that fascinates me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what I love about data science in general, and analytics, any of that, because data is everywhere. Like every company has data, and they always say data is the new gold or whatever, but there is so much value in it. And it is surprising what organizations do and like what they don't do. So like I worked at Meijer for 5 years, and it was just amazing to see just how advanced, a lot of their analytics are. And that's, it's a local company in Grand Rapids, and you wouldn't think about just all the amazing analytics that they do.
Yeah.
And then our company too, it's like, we've come a long way even since I started. They've really invested a lot in analytics because they really see, the value of it. And I mean, it's so obvious when you do like these predictive models and you see, this is what we were doing before, and now we have a better model. What's our increase in accuracy? What's our increase in, revenue per piece of mail sent? And it is a really drastic increase.
Because of the advent of AI now, being able to speed up how to build predictive models, how to use it for marketing, it just puts more and more of an emphasis on good data.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really does, because you can do everything else so much faster that you still, it's the shit in, shit out theory of, if you start with garbage, you're going to end with garbage. What? Isn't it true? Yeah. I tell everybody that. I can build you the best AI workflow you want, but if it's garbage data,
this shit in, shit out.
You have shit data. It's going to be a shit workflow.
I've heard the garbage in, garbage out, but
well, that's why it's unfiltered.
I'm a 14-year-old boy, and when you say shit out, I just laugh at it. But are we going into data? Because that's
let's talk some data.
Let's talk some data.
I love data. That's like my favorite topic. So
yeah,
perfect.
So I was at an event yesterday, and they had a panel of AI experts there, and the topic of data came up. And I thought they gave some good advice. And they said, don't wait for your data to be perfect before you start getting into AI. And I agree with that, because it could be forever before your data gets perfect. But now that this is the world that you live in, data is your friend, it's your favorite topic. How much of your time is spent, if any, like cleaning up data or ensuring that the shit that's coming in is going to not be shit going out? Tending to the data garden. Like, how much of your time is spent doing that?
I would say a lot, but it's like an iterative process, like you kind of have to identify like what's the data that we don't have that we want to go after. And then that's like the big project of like, let's find the data, let's, work with data engineering to create the flow, and then let's get this data set up. And then it's really understanding, data is never perfect. That's always true. There's always improvement. But you have to kind of know what is wrong with it. Like, what are the limitations of this data set? And that way, when you're doing modeling, you kind of know, I can't interpret this way because I know that going in, this data wasn't 100% perfect. I would say when it's like data preparation and like that sort of thing, that is obviously always the biggest part of modeling. Like, I would say I probably spend 70% of my time like in SQL just putting data sets together, combining things. Like I build algorithms in SQL at times too, not just, preparing data for modeling, but that is like a big part of it. And then it is understanding like, I thought this was right, but what's potentially wrong with it, and just making sure. I always say it's understanding the data, not just first having good data, but then having a clear understanding of your business and your data is like another really important part.
How far upstream do you get to swim? Do you get to play a part in how that data is collected? So I think about how it applies to what we do. So we get tickets that come in from clients. So we could design the interface so that we have the fields that we want, and we're in collecting. Do you get to play all the way up there and have a say in how that data? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And this then again goes back to like, depends on the size of your organization. So where I'm at currently, like I can directly query the ERP, which like after coming from Meijer, where absolutely no way, all the data was there when I started. It's beautiful, pristine data. As we created more data sets there, we would say, this is what we want our data. We would even write, the SQL to like create it. And then we'd hand it off to IT to say, okay, make us this data set. Okay. And it's pretty similar where I'm at now, like we have so much freedom. And like for us specifically, our data engineering team is kind of like completely turned over since I started. So in some areas, I'm almost like the expert telling them, this is what I need, because they wouldn't necessarily, I know the data better than they do. Yeah. And then it depends on like other sources. Like we do have some third party integrations. One is like, like for clubs, right? When you go somewhere and it's like you click the button and it's like it auto ship, save 10%, like those sorts of things. Those companies have like, this is the data they have, and you can just plug into the API and like pull it back. And so you're kind of limited there on what you can get. I would say I just want everything, of course, like give me it all.
Then what about synthetic data? Are you doing anything with that?
Not at this time, no. I think it would be a few years before we got to where we were doing that. I have looked into it a bit because I read some study that was saying like AI can basically create for you synthetic data that's almost more rich than your regular data.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting in the survey space because like sending surveys, you know, it's always so biased. Like, first of all, you choose who you send them to. People do not respond in an unbiased way. It's usually people with strong opinions, typically negative ones, tend to be more likely to respond than others. And so it was something about like using AI to get synthetic survey data would like get you more robust, you know, than even doing like a large scale survey on your own. I've got a bit more research to do on myself before I'd suggest it to the company. But I think that's a space where that synthetic data makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Another thing that was brought up yesterday was that people focus when they're thinking about the data that they want AI to interact with. They're focusing on the instances where things went right. And they said, don't lose the value when things don't go right. And I've been thinking about that since that he said that. And I'd like to think that I'm, you know, smart enough to understand what he meant by that. And I don't know that I really do understand. Does that resonate with you at all?
I'm thinking of it in two ways. So there's like two things that might be kind of what he means. The first is it's more like the absence of something being there is also significant. And there's a really popular kind of example of this, and it's from like, I'm not sure which war, but war a few years ago. And all of these planes that were coming back, you know, had holes in the, I don't know, you know, in different areas of the plane. And they were like, oh, this is where people are getting shot. You know, we need to reinforce these. And then they said, no, these are the planes that are coming back. You know, the ones that aren't coming back are the ones that are shot in other areas. So that's the idea of like, don't look at the data necessarily that you have. Like, what's the data that you don't have? And so to put that in like a, you know, retail context, that's more like, okay, these are the customers that are responding. What are the customers that don't respond? What do they look like? And is there you know, something we can do to better reach them?
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've always loved that analogy as one to kind of explain it because it's so it makes it so clear where you're like, oh yeah, that's, you know.
Yeah, that totally makes sense at that point.
Anything else about data that you think would be people should know? And if you think about our audience as, you know, some people are casual listeners, they just like Drew's dimples, but some people actually tune in to like learn about AI. And so this data thing is super important because unless you live in data or you like to nerd out on things, you're probably not really into it. So is there anything else that people should know when it comes to data for their business?
I mean, I think don't be afraid to explore, you know, like I see a lot of people who are like, oh, well, I don't know, you know, what I'm doing, or I don't know how to put it together. And it's like, nobody does when they start. You just got to kind of start, you know, start from the beginning. I would always recommend people learn SQL. I think that's such a good thing or even, you know, there's so many tools out there now where you don't need to actually know how to code to do it, but just get in there and explore. And I think don't be really, really curious is always, you know, what I say as well. Cause I think, you know, whenever I see data, it always leads to like, well, why does that look like that? Well, what's that relationship? And so just really get in there, and the more experience you get, the better you'll get at it. And then I kind of think what you guys had said earlier about like, your data doesn't have to be perfect to start. I think it's important to understand, again, the limitations of your data so that you know what you can interpret and what you can't and how you can use it. But there's so many use cases. And I mean, that's where you can use AI too, to say like, this is my data. This is, you know, what I know it looks like. What are some things I could do with it? So just get in there and try. And it also doesn't always have to be, you know, AI. Like there's so many applications of data, even from just simple like analytics to uncover that first little bit of, you know, you talk about like the gold thing, right? So you're out panning in the mountain and maybe you find little chunks at first and you build those gradual steps and get more comfortable until you get into the more advanced stuff.
For people that aren't like doing it on the regular, have you done anything? Because now you've got Microsoft has Copilot integrated into Excel. Google's got Gemini in Sheets. Are you doing anything there and using like the built-in AI in these programs, or are you working completely outside of that?
I honestly rarely use AI for actual analytics. Like I usually just use it to say, how should I do this?
Okay.
It often gets very frustrating because it will think it has data and it will try to analyze it for me. And I have to say, no, you don't have the data. I want the code. But I think that's great for people who are not data scientists. So people who like our marketing team, right? Like they have tons of data and we can give them access to more data in like different aggregate forms, that sort of thing. And then they're able to put it into those Excel, like we have Copilot, of course. And so then they're able to, you can, upload the Excel to Copilot and say, analyze this for me. You can do all of those things. And I think that's such a great tool to really democratize data kind of in analytics for everybody so everyone can do it. But I do think, again, that like understanding is important because like AI doesn't know your business. Well, I mean, you can train AI to know your business context. So you actually could. But if it doesn't, you do have to have a bit of knowledge to like guide it and not misinterpret it. But I always feel like the end users, like I know data really well. Like that's my job is to know the data, how it works together, how good it is. I'm not a marketer. I'm not a merchandiser. I've worked in, the industry for 10 years, so I have some knowledge, but it's not the same as the people actually using the data and doing the tasks. And so those things that enable them to ask questions that they can get answers, and then that frees me up to do like the cooler stuff that I want to do because I'm not doing like the one-off analytics for them.
It reminds me of so we were trading emails back and forth, just kind of prepping for getting you on the podcast. And you had kind of drawn a line between, oh shit, I'm going to forget exactly how you said it. Like the kind of data analysis you can get from an LLM versus doing like classic machine learning. So could you talk about the differences there and explain that for us? And
I think it's more, so like as a data scientist, like, I wasn't always a data scientist. I think it was back when I was kind of starting my career. It was like data scientist is the sexiest job of the, 21st century. And so then I became a data scientist, and now it's like LLMs and AI are like all that matters. And so it's interesting because I just think there's so much more value in like machine learning and analytics and like even the boring stuff, like a logistic regression can be like very, very powerful. And so LLMs are great, but it's like not always like the only thing that's out there. I think it's great, like we said before, those use cases for like allowing other people to do their analytics. It's more when companies try to like build them in-house. Like I'm going to build my LLM to do, I don't know, it's, the CEO is always like, we want AI. And I think that's just not always the first solution people could run to. I think it's such a great tool and there's so many applications, but unless you say, this is the specific use case I have for it, and this is why I have to have an LLM versus, again, maybe simple logistic regression or something like that, the use case really has to be there, or else you're spending, potentially months where you could have spent weeks doing something that was probably going to give you, 80% of the benefit that you would get from like an LLM.
Yeah. Do you feel you're limited if you're only using an LLM? If you think about most people, when they think about AI, they are only thinking about generative AI because that's what's in the news and it's the new, to your point, it's the new sexy thing, right? Are they, if people choose to go that route to do analytics, they're uploading Excel sheets to ChatGPT and they're saying, hey, take a look at this data, and are they only going to get so far doing that? Or are there ways that if they just stuck with it, more persistent, they could get to more of that advanced level of analytics? Do you feel like there's a governor if you're using LLMs to do that?
I think it depends. And this is where you guys probably know more about what's available out there in the AI space than I do. Because I know like one of the projects I'm working on right now is this like causal machine learning algorithm, right? So what this does is it builds like 3 different like random forests to do this analytics. And, when you're talking about machine learning, like you want millions and millions of rows because I have, I think, 50 different parameters going into it. It's really complex. And so I think at this point I have like 12 million rows going into it. I don't know if I can even put that in an LLM. I know like with our version of Copilot, like absolutely I cannot. I don't know if there's more, like paid versions, things where you can do those sorts of things. But I just think with the scale that you need for like advanced machine learning, I just don't know that AI can do it. On the other side, it's also fun, like that's like you get into data scientists because you love data and like doing these advanced things. And so like let the LLM do the boring stuff. I'll have a conversation with it, let it write my Python, but like I want to build the model. I want to decide, ultimately what variables go in. Because I could put, when you're deciding what variables to put in a model, you maybe go in Python, Excel, whatever tool you want to use, and you look at what are the correlations, what are the relationships, and that's how you kind of decide what to keep in your model and what to put out. Absolutely, I could let AI do a lot of that, but I'm learning a lot by doing it. Like I'm learning a lot about our data, our customers, the relationships between them, and these significant relationships that I can use later on. And then again, it's also fun. Like I really love what I do. And so I don't want my job to be, I talk to an LLM. I want my job to be, I analyze data.
Yeah. You were saying before when we were in the lobby, just how Drew opened this as being a smart coworker.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're describing.
It's like a smart assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of people say, I've heard this quote from a couple different people, but it's basically the idea that like AI is not going to take your job. Someone using AI is going to take your job. And I think especially, it's like software engineers, analytics, like those are some of the top areas where they're saying, we're seeing jobs cut, we're seeing like, I think what Amazon announced a bunch of layoffs, like a couple different companies did. And so if you're not saying like, how can I use this tool to extend my skills, not replace me, like, cause then I'm not learning anything new. I'm not offering any value beyond what the LLM can do, but it's like, how can I use this to extend my skills so that something that maybe would have taken me a week or two before, or even like, maybe 6 months of like a training course, like how can I use AI so I can do that now and I can do it faster and offer value?
Well, I told you I cough a lot. One thing, I'd put an asterisk by the Amazon and Meta and all those guys are laying off a bunch of people, because now reports are coming out going, they were going to lay off a bunch of people before. It had nothing to do with AI. I'm sure you saw that too. All the follow-up ones going, wait a minute. This isn't because AI is replacing it
it's
so
a convenient
much as,
cover story.
This is just an excuse.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's because we have a lot of software engineers at BizStream, and we use a lot of Copilot, a lot of ChatGPT to help write that code. And it's that assistant that does it, but you still got to understand where the bias is. You still got to QC it. You still got to QA that whole chunk of code to make sure this is line by line before I implement this into a client project, that it's correct. So you still need that human intervention in there. You still need to be able to have that knowledge. You can't just come in and go, I have no idea about data or coding, but I can use this because it's going to tell me everything. You still got to know if it's right or wrong coming out of that. So I agree that it's going to enhance, it's not going to replace.
Yeah, I think we're going to see how it goes over the next couple of years. I know software engineers is the one where I think you really have seen either, like, I think it's more a decrease in hiring than layoffs. It's like, hey, we would have opened a position before, now we're not because everyone's a little more efficient.
Yeah.
But I've seen places, and I feel like this is probably more, out west, California, bigger company kind of thing, where they do like vibe coding is a job now that's out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we know yet. How's that going to work out? Like, is it going to be more time, more errors, and more people spent fixing them to where it's like, no, let's just hire software engineers again and give them AI as a tool so that we need maybe fewer of them, but we can't just replace them with people who, have like a 2-year degree, no experience, and they can vibe code. I just don't see that working out, but I could be wrong. Like, I don't, who knows how things are in, 5-10 years. Like, I've heard you guys on the podcast before say like, this is the worst it's going to be. Like, it's only going to get better. So it'll be interesting to see, but I do think now, it's too early to just fully replace positions.
Yeah.
It's an interesting experiment. And we've talked about here before about autonomous driving. And yes, you can have one of the Tesla semis can drive all the way across the country, but it might not be able to back into the dock when it gets to the warehouse. So that's what I think about vibe coding. Is you're probably going to have this group of vibe coders that they're going to build MVPs of things. They're going to get it to a certain point, and then the people that really know how to code, or the people that really understand data, are going to be like, okay, give me that, and I'll take it across the finish line. Like, I'll finish it up. I'll make sure it's secure. I'll make sure that, the code's clean and all the QA and all that stuff. That's one way that I could see that going.
Yeah, I think it's both on like the beginning and the end. I think the middle AI is really great at, but you definitely need someone who has like business knowledge, a little bit of understanding around that to even ask the questions and say, let's design the project, let's design the whole roadmap, and what are the prompts that we're going to put into there to get the right output, and then those finishing touches.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then you're looking at where AI is creating jobs, right? You're creating these vibe coding roles, and the people that really know this stuff still have a role because they're the end of the process. They're the ones who are going to put their stamp on it and say, okay, this is good to ship. Let's go. So an example of AI creating jobs.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true of every like disruptive technology that's ever existed. You know, like I'm sure, you know, when the computer came in, I often think like before computers, like what did people even do at work? You know, were you like, what did you do? Did you just have pen and paper and you're like writing? I literally don't understand. You didn't email. There was no Excel. Like what did you do?
Chain smoke and drink coffee and like lean up against the cubicle wall.
Mad Men.
I was going to say it's basically Mad Men. That was what I was thinking.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it still is, but
The good old days. Yeah.
it's just you got a computer doing it now.
Yeah, I got distracted. I forgot where the rest of that answer was going there.
Oh no, we were. What got us there was talking about vibe coding,
the job creation.
Yeah.
So then computers came, and like for sure, like I think that created way more jobs than it possibly got rid of. Like first of all, people have to make the computers, and so it definitely is like a leveling up, and that's where I say like everyone has a personal responsibility to make sure that they're keeping up with it, understanding how it impacts their job, their career, and actually like what opportunity does that create? Now there's all this like, if you're a front runner and you're getting into it, now that you can get into consulting, like every person can really elevate themselves and then help, elevate other people too.
And I've always said that too, that I've mentioned it here on the podcast, that AI is going to evolve us as a people of what our talents are, what we can do. And like you said, this affects everyone like computers did. This is not just, here's a new, I don't even have a good analogy. Here's a new something that only certain demographics use. Like everybody's going to be affected by this.
Right. Well, and the applications are absolutely endless. Like the things that you can do with AI, it's, I'm talking about using it in data science, but I mean, I think marketing is the one, like most of the talks that I've been to, marketing seems to be the one place where like content creation and all of that, where it is just like an absolute game changer and speeding things up. But I mean, I use it constantly for like, what's a good workout plan? What's a good recipe? What's a meal plan? It just affects like every single aspect of your life. There's some way that AI can come in and like streamline things. And then there's even like, hey, I would like to learn about this new topic. Can you create like a list for me of how I should approach this? And so just however you want to use it, it's just there. It's so amazing.
I feel like AI more so than even like computers, where computers changed everything and groups of people learned how to code. Like certain types of people, AI affects everyone almost to an individual level.
100%.
I think a lot of people overthink how to use it because a lot of people ask us, well, I used ChatGPT and it didn't work, or I didn't do this. I don't even know where to start or how to use it correctly. Did you ask it? You literally go in and just say, hey, how do I make a better prompt that you'd understand? It'll literally give you 3 pages of here's exactly how you can use me. Here's where I'm good at. Here's where I need your input. Here's how to streamline it.
I think the biggest problem, because AI makes it so easy to do things that you never would have done before, code, strategy, different things, like the biggest limitation I think is our own imagination.
Yeah.
And I loved when you said curiosity earlier. That's a big part of it too, is just being curious and not, you can't break ChatGPT.
Absolutely.
Just like get in there and just start typing shit and see what happens. And if you screw up, you can just start over again or whatever. But the more I think about it, and I was just talking with somebody about this yesterday, is really imagination and knowing what's possible. So unless you've got people, to your point, Drew, saying, here's how I use it, and giving people examples, if they're not going to like get there on their own, that's when it becomes important to do what we're doing now, and why we do the podcast is to give people these examples of, hey, this is how Shannon's using it, or this is how Drew's using it. And instead of, just hoping people get there on their own. So just trying to share as many examples of that as possible.
The only limitation is your imagination.
It is. It really is. Because what else is holding you back? You've got the most intelligent technology that we've ever had. And it's at your fingertips, and you can have it for free. It's ridiculous.
And it will teach you, it talks to you like a friend. Like there's the whole, like, talk to you like a friend. That's a whole nother conversation there about AI. But I do think, even for me, I've barely scratched the surface of what AI can do. Because, you're busy. Time, I think, is where that other limitation is, Yep. I'm really hoping this winter to dive in a bit deeper. I'm on my work computer 90% of the time, and all we can use is Copilot. And I just know there's so many other tools out there that I am, even in my personal life or, outside of work, like looking at what are ways I can use ChatGPT, maybe for education, maybe for that sort of thing. And then even like building your own, like even that is honestly not hard. Like it's amazing how all of this stuff is open source. Not all of it, but there are so many large language models that are. And so and that's, again, it's something that like, maybe once you have it downloaded, somehow you can break it, but then you can just delete it and download it again and start over.
Right.
And so, and you could use ChatGPT to say, hey, I want to build my own LLM, I'm starting with this model, or you don't have to say that. You say, what model should I start with? How should I do it? And it'll walk you through end to end, how to bring in your own, bring in an open source one, train it on your own data. And so that it's like more specific to you. Like it's not only just like the usage side that has so much value out there, but it's really even the own, like building your own side of things. And it's just the amount of free resources out there. It's incredible, like what you can do.
Well, you mentioned a good actually tool tip is going into ChatGPT and saying, this is what I'm trying to build. This is what I'm trying to get to. What model should I use? And just based on what I'm trying to accomplish, which model should I use? Which platform should I use? And it'll literally tell you, you should use 4.0, or you should use Claude, or you should use something, lovable.dev.
Sponsor us, please.
Sponsor us, please.
I'm not even sure what Lovable, I've heard it mentioned a few times.
Oh,
but
let me tell you.
That's not one I'm familiar with.
It's an app builder. It's they're based out of like Sweden or something. But, it's an app builder that is, I think, for me, it's because I am not a developer, I'm not a coder, I'm not anything. I like the iPhone sexy version of everything. And that to me is the iPhone sexy version of low code, no code app building. You can build a website, you can build an app. I literally built a website in a meeting of a nonprofit that I was working with, a committee, and they wanted a website. And I thought, all right, I'll just add some stuff in here, added in a bunch of PDFs they had, brochures, that type of thing. Literally spun my computer around and said, like this. And it was built. Like it was built in minutes.
Yeah.
And that was the first version of Lovable. It literally came out a week before that meeting I had. And I thought, I'll just try this. Free version.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And so of course I bought into the whole thing. But you can build a ton of different apps, and it makes it visually stunning, number one. And the user interface and the UX UI of it is it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's not perfect. It's not perfect like anything else, but it'll get you 80-85% of the way there. Really
and I think
quick.
that to me is such a big use case for AI too, is it's just going to enable so many people to like start their own businesses or small businesses is where there's so much value too, because maybe you can't afford to hire a data scientist, or, a whole team of analysts, but you have this, you have these tools that are really, really going to work for you. Just to help you like do your own thing without having to, hire someone and spend a bunch of money to build a website. Now you can make one, and so much less, barrier to entry when it comes to like starting companies and doing those things. And that, I think that is, we're talking about job creation, that's like entrepreneur creation, not just 100%. Job creation. So
it's you have no more excuses. Like if you've always wanted to start a business and you had pre-generative AI, you probably had some excuses. I don't have the capital to spend money to, have somebody build a website for me or do these things. That shit's gone. Yeah. Like, there's no more barrier to entry. It's literally free. If you don't have a computer, go to the library. Yeah. There's nothing stopping you now.
Yeah. No, and I forgot what I was going to say.
I think you're just going to agree with my sage.
Absolutely.
Don't.
That was brilliant.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. You mentioned marketing earlier, so I have to share this story. I was working with our marketing coordinator at New Wave, and she's awesome because she's way into AI. She actually uses Claude, which I don't use. But if I find Claude stuff, I send it to her and she plays around with it. She's really good with it. And I said, hey, let's work on creating some marketing automations, because to your point earlier, Shannon, like for me, that's always been the lower hanging fruit for AI applications in a business because of the content generation part of it, which it's so good at. And now with the way it can create images, now you've got this full suite of generative tools for marketing and video now, and it's crazy. So she agreed. And so we got working on this. We're in N8N and we're building this automation. And I'm like getting excited because it's actually starting to work. And an article comes out. Google just released something. I think it's called Pomeli, Pomelli. Have you heard about this yet? Mm-mm. So you just give it your website and give it the URL, and it will go and it'll create a whole marketing campaign based off of the information on your website. It'll create social posts for you that you can edit and tweak the aspect ratio and the size and the content and all of this. I'm like, well, I guess we're done building this N8N automation.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it literally did everything that we were going to do. The only thing that it doesn't do yet, and I'm sure it will in the near future, is it won't go auto post it, because we had built that into our automation. Is it'll go right to LinkedIn and it'll put it in there for you. That's not there yet.
I would be scared of that. Like where that's the like, let AI do it, but let's look a human, give it a little look before the auto post.
And that's what it does. Yeah. It's absolutely kind of
human in the loop.
Yep. And it doesn't post for you yet, but that will happen. But at least it is giving you. And that's the way ours was built all that time. That's the way ours was built too, is that a human would have the final say to say, yep, thumbs up, post it. And it would just go and do that. But
I was surprised though, when I used make.com the first time I did it, which was probably a few months ago now, but there was a learning curve to it. Like you had to know some of the terminology, you had to know some of, and I know N8N's more powerful even at doing it, but you have to know a little bit more about development speak, if you will. Now I figured it out and having ChatGPT right next to me to say, what does this mean?
Yeah,
what does this mean? Okay,
right.
Cool. So it's still, within 2 hours, I had a whole workflow, social media workflow that I had, which does the same thing. It posts to LinkedIn and everything. But I was surprised at how much I still had to know. Like there was still that barrier. And I do think that in the very near future, we're going to have that iPhone sexy version, that easy version where you just click on it or you just say, build me this.
I need
a workflow that does this. Oh, here you go.
It's in N8N right now. I had to do a little research and figure out like a little backdoor way to get into it, so it's not like widely available.
Really?
But I just went in there and I said, this is what I want it to do. I want it to create multiple, I want it to, and you have to connect some APIs to do this. That's like the hardest part.
Oh, see, there you go. Just kidding.
Yeah, I think you see API and some people already are like, nope, I'm out.
But it's,
and I
like
get that.
Templates
but
I understand.
Ask
I'm talking like
ChatGPT
literally, I don't care how you do it. I'm telling you I want this, and then boop, it's out the other end.
So the API, so you still have to like tell it where you want to get the data from. And so I don't know if it'll ever do that. Now it could say, because the first part of this is, it was an automated thing. Monday morning at 9 a.m., go scrape the top news stories and then build a post for New Wave based off of that. So the first one it picked was there was that heist at the Louvre. You guys hear about this?
Yep.
So it made some kind of analogy to cybersecurity based off of, this heist. But I had to find the API for a news API or RSS feed, I guess is really what it was. To tell it like where to get the story from. So that was like the hardest part. And then there's my API to OpenAI, so it can use the credits to generate the content. But other than that, I just said, I want you to scrape news stories. I want you to create multiple versions of a post with an image. I want you to send it in an email to our marketing coordinator to give her the ability to approve it. And then once she gives it the thumbs up, I want you to post it to LinkedIn. It built the whole workflow. And the only thing I had to go in and do was put the APIs in.
Wow.
And it wasn't like perfect out of the gate. You have to go and you have to do some tweaking, but we're there today. It's
nice.
So
awesome.
That's one I haven't really used a lot, like the automations. And that's something sometimes I feel like there's value in like doing that work yourself, So that's where like the argument starts to come, like, because what's the end goal? Like, why am I doing this? Like, am I doing it to learn about stories? Am I doing it to create a LinkedIn post? And like, ultimately, what really worries me is like the new SEO world we're in, where it used to be keywords and now it's really, what does AI understand about your business and your company? Contextual. And so now, like, to combat that, like, companies are using AI to create AI so that AI can read it so that it can learn about, the company to recommend it. Yeah. And it's like, at what point, like, where's the human in the loop? We're just like, it's just AI talking to AI. And that concerns me a little bit. Like, where does that end up?
We've talked about that before early on, where I'm going to write an article, a blog article, but I'm going to use AI to help me write the whole thing. I publish it out there using AI tools.
Yep.
You get it and you go, I'm not going to read this whole article. I'm going to bring it into AI to consume it a different way, or to read it to me, or to give me the TDD, what is it? Too long didn't read version of it.
TLDR, yeah.
I'm like dyslexic or something. But now you're not even reading the original article that I wrote with AI, that I loaded with AI, because you're using AI to distill it back down. It's like, you're right. It's like, well, what was the value? Where was the human value in that point?
And I think there's probably tons of other stuff that we do, that's already like that. But it does scare me a little bit where, like I was saying, the way I use API, the way I use AI is like, I'm terrible at writing Python, so I use AI to say, hey, help me write this Python. But, the downside of that is I'm going to learn Python much, much slower than I would if I spent, 4 hours on Stack Overflow beating my head against a wall trying to figure something out the old way. And so there's always those trade-offs, but then it's also like, well, why do I need to know Python? I will always have AI there, to write it for me. And so what's like the need for it? And so it's like both of those sides of things. And again, this same conversation probably came when we had the calculator, I can't do square roots by hand anymore. And it's like, well, who cares? Enough time goes by and it's just like the status quo. But I do think, and right now it's new, and I think we're still figuring out how to use it, but I think it'll evolve over time. But some of that stuff does concern me a little bit. And I think this is a personal choice too. Do you use AI to extend your skills, or do you use it to do everything, to do your work for you? And there's space for both. I always like to say, I don't think the world would be a better place if everyone was exactly like me. So, it takes variety, it takes all kinds. And so while I want to use it as a tool and I want to learn more and go farther, some people probably want to use it to like make their life simpler and just do most of their job, and then they can, do other things. So all kinds of use cases and things, but I think I think it's important to be super intentional with it and make sure what is the end game of how you're using it.
Exactly. All right, we got to wrap this up.
No.
Yes.
That flew by, guys. That was fun.
It does. The time flies by incredibly fast when you get on a roll. Shannon, thank you for joining us. It's been awesome being able to talk to you. I didn't think I'd be able to talk to you this much because I didn't think I'd understand what's going on.
Kept it pretty simple.
Talking before going into this, like, she's so smart and we're so dumb. Like, how are we going to survive this?
Is this going to work?
Yeah, people can just put the episode in ChatGPT and like summarize it, get the cliff notes. Yeah.
So tell our viewers where they can find you.
Oh, geez, I don't know. Probably LinkedIn, I would say, is probably the best place. Just Shannon McCormick. Honestly, don't know if I even know what my LinkedIn address is anymore, but that's probably the one place.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. Love talking with you, and love to have you back at some point again. Yeah, thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm scratching the surface of this, so I'm sure in 6 months I'll be like, hey, guys, I have this new thing I'm doing, new way I'm using it. Let's talk about it. That's cool. That's cool. Well, thank you. If you like today's episode, please hit the like and subscribe button or drop us a comment. We'd love to hear how you're using AI for data. Thanks, everybody.